Hello and welcome to another opportunity to attract the man of your dreams, and today, welcome to the opportunity to attract a rich man for marriage. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I thought for a very long time whether or not I should record this episode because, well, it will be very controversial. You might be offended, or maybe I should say you will most likely be offended by some of the things I'm going to say. However, if you really put the advice into practice that I'm going to share with you right now and right here in this episode, you have the opportunity to attract a rich man who will want to marry you. And I can also guarantee you that everything I say in this episode, or at least 90%, will go completely against what female dating coaches and other women on YouTube tell you about attracting a rich man. And my experience comes from me, myself, being quite successful in business. I have a lot of wealthy friends, I have wealthy business associates, and also quite wealthy clients. And I hope that you want to know about how to attract a rich man for marriage because you fell in love with a man who has a lot of money, and I just hope that you truly love him for the wonderful person he is, and that you now want to know how you can make him commit to you. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. From knowing so many wealthy men, I know what they are looking for, and I also know that most of what other women tell you to do on YouTube is completely wrong and will backfire. It will backfire tremendously, completely, and utterly. And what I'm going to share with you today is the opposite of what they tell you, but it's something that truly works if you want a rich man commit to you. And the reason why so many female dating coaches and women on YouTube share these other things with you is because they show you, unknowingly most likely, how to get a rich man to sleep with you. But getting a rich man to sleep with you and getting a rich man to actually want to commit to you and to marry you are the complete opposite. And now let's start with the slightly offensive and very controversial advice on how you can attract a rich man for marriage. The first thing that you have to keep in mind, and that probably also goes against what you expected me to say, is that rich men don't choose the prettiest woman for marriage, but the one they can trust the most. So many of my clients believe that the fastest and easiest way, and the only way, to attract a rich man is to be the prettiest woman in the room, to wear the designer handbag, and to look like a supermodel. But that's not true. And that's why what I mentioned in the beginning of this episode is so important. Rich men, and I know that sounds very offensive and it sounds very controversial, but it's important for you to understand this on a deep level if you want him to commit to you. Rich men do not sleep with the same women in the short term than they commit to in the long term. I'm gonna say it again, and you might want to kill me for saying it, but rich men do not sleep with the same women in the short term than they would commit to in the long term. The best example I can give you is that quite a few wealthy men are on sites such as Seeking Arrangement, where they're looking for sugar babies, for young beautiful women who want to date older men for a financial benefit. And I don't judge that, I don't say that it's right or wrong, it just is what it is. I believe if something is consensual and both partners want the same thing, then live and let live, who am I to judge? But I can guarantee you, and this also brings me to a point that I want to share in just a moment that is even more controversial, but I can guarantee you that a rich man, even if he is on Seeking Arrangement and is looking for the prettiest and maybe even the youngest woman there, he will never in a million years consider marrying this woman or even committing to her in the slightest bit. The woman he will marry is the complete opposite. I've seen it with so many wealthy men. I've seen it over and over and over again. Rich men don't choose the prettiest woman for marriage, but the one they can trust the most. And the big mistake that so many women make is to assume that rich men marry the same women that they date in the short term, but nothing could be further from the truth. You can in fact attract a rich man as an average looking woman, but not with an average personality. And that's why I want to say something that will shock you even more, and that's even more controversial, but your past matters more to a rich man than an average man. And the reason for that is because he has more to lose. For a rich man, everything is a red flag, and rich men often over-exaggerate when it comes to red flags. he could have thousands of women for casual experiences. This is something that you have to keep in mind. The more money a man has, the more option he has on the dating market. It is what it is. I don't make the rules. It is simply a fact. It's biology. And if you want to attract a rich man, if you want to attract a man who has accumulated a substantial amount of wealth, you have to understand that this man could have casual bedroom fun at any given day, any time. However, what he can't have all the time is to find a woman, and that's you, who is so special and so amazing and who he can trust so much that he falls in love with her. And that's something that a lot of rich men can't have. In fact, I would argue that for average men, or let's say average successful men, it's easier to open their heart and to fall in love than for a man who has accumulated a lot of wealth, because again, he has a lot to lose and he's aware that a lot of women want him just for the money. So if you can communicate to him that you are the woman he can trust, then he will commit to you. And that's where your past also comes into play. And unfortunately, I now have to mention one of my coaching clients who had a very wild past. And of course, for privacy reasons, I don't want to share any private details of her, but she had that problem that a wealthy man found out about her past and then left her. And I know you might say it's unfair, but it is what it is. Again, I don't make the rules. I can scream at the clouds for raining, but it won't stop the clouds from raining. And that's why it's important that if you want to attract a rich man, think about your lifestyle. Think about your life that you're living. Think about whether or not the life that you're living attract a rich man. And that's why I said before that rich men are very, very careful when it comes to red flags. And that's true for partying, that's true for drinking, that's true for having a past where you hooked up with a lot of men. All these things matter to rich men exponentially more than to average men. Not because they are more judgmental, but because they are more paranoid, because they have to lose so much. And if a rich man then finds out that you might have had a lot of hookups in the past, he will assume this woman might not be faithful and I can lose my fortune. Again, I warned you in the beginning that this episode will be very controversial, but I'm here to tell you the truth, even though it hurts and even though it's uncomfortable. And that's also why a rich man will most likely want you to sign a prenup, because he knows at least one man who has lost a lot of money in a divorce. And again, I hope that you want to find a rich man because you currently are dating one, or you've met one and you truly like him for who he is, and you don't just want the money. Because if you find a rich man and you really love him and you say to yourself, hey, I would also marry this man if he wasn't rich, then you can use the one thing, and I really mean this, the one thing to get him, and the one thing that makes a rich man want to commit to you is when he can fully trust you. For a rich man, the most important quality is loyalty. It's not how pretty you are, it's not how young you are, it's not what kind of clothes you're wearing, it's loyalty. Every rich man has this fantasy of a woman who makes him feel like the hero in the relationship and who's ride or die, who's with him till the end. And that's actually why this man became successful in the first place. The reason why men become successful is because they have this ambition and this long-term thinking. And rich men, in the same way as they have the long-term thinking with investments, with their career, with their business, they also have this long-term thinking when it comes to relationships, and especially when it comes to choosing the woman who they want to marry. And that's why all these people on YouTube, mostly women, who tell you that you have to look incredibly pretty, that you have to buy designer handbags, that you have to invest in an elegant dress in order to get a rich man, nothing could be further from the truth. What you have to do is to communicate to him through your actions, through your behavior, and through your words that loyalty is the number one thing for you. It's all about loyalty. And that's also why, and again, that's also controversial, why a rich man doesn't care about how much money you make, but he cares about your education. He cares about your values. He cares about all these things that could be indicators of how committed you are to things in the long term. That's also why, and I know that from my own experience, from wealthy friends of mine, a lot of rich men value women who are highly educated for a long-term relationship. Again, it's not the same for a short-term hookup, but for a long-term relationship, your education is important. Why? Because it proves that you were, at least in this field, committed to investing time into something in the long term, which can then also transfer into your relationship. It's all about loyalty. I can't stretch that enough, because he has so much to lose, and because his personal values allowed him, his long-term thinking allowed him to achieve this financial success. And that's why making him feel like a hero and making him feel that he's the only man for you and that he's the hero of his relationship, of his life, and also your hero is so effective, so goddamn effective, I can't say it any other way, if you want to make a rich man commit to you. And if you want to know how you can use this hero instinct to make a rich man fall in love with you and commit to you, you can go to gethimkeephim.com/video and watch the explainer video, or you can also read about the experience reports of 7 of my amazing coaching clients by going to gethimkeephim.com/obsession, or by clicking on the second link in the description. And always remember that if you follow the walk around in designer clothes and be pretty all the time advice from many women on YouTube on how to get a rich man, then yes, rich men will want to sleep with you, but they won't marry you. And you are listening to this episode because you want a wealthy man to commit to you. Rich men, like I said in the beginning, and I know it's controversial, but it's the truth, rich men distinguish between women for casual relationships and for marriage. And if you look at happily married millionaires and billionaires, a lot of the women that they married are not supermodels. They are kind, loving, caring, average-looking women with a big heart who are loyal and faithful, and who communicated successfully that they are loyal. Again, I don't say that these men don't casually date young supermodels. They do, but usually they don't commit to these women in the long term. The women they date on and off for a couple of months or even a couple of weeks or days are very different than the women they marry. And the more down to earth and the more I don't care about your wealth you are, and the more you communicate that you are this loyal woman that he has been looking for all his life, the easier it will be for you to find a rich man who wants to marry you. And if you enjoyed watching this video, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section below. Share your opinion, share your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. And I would love it even more if you would hit the subscribe button and smash that notification bell so that you get notified whenever I release a new video for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.